What's up, everybody? What's going on, guys? How we doing? Welcome to it. You might notice some different faces here right now, and neither one of them are Toucan. So he was actually about an hour and a half ago. He told me he was leaving work because things were coming out of his face that weren't supposed to. Yeah, he got some kind of gut thing going on, but God bless him, he still finished the video for us, so he's a trooper. So we got another promo video we just dropped, thanks to him. But
you had to say something. I was going to tell people I'm Toucan, but I'm going to spend the year black for tax purposes.
They would have got you confused back when he still had the mohawk. You never know. We could have I would say you guys need no introductions. Y'all have been on enough streams and seen enough faces and everything like that. But we got obviously we got Virtue from Crucible Airsoft, and down below Sal Z Monsters. I never say it right. Zuniga,
yeah.
See that I got it right. From Third Coast Airsoft. Thank you guys very much for joining today. We'll do a little bit of buffering and everything like that before we get everybody joined on and all that. But it's funny, the topic we're talking about tonight actually came about very, very late. We were going to talk about other stuff, and we just got to talking about it. So you know what I really think, especially right about now, personally, some of the stuff that's going on in regards to fields and events and all that. And the two of you have both, you know, Virtue, I know you do both. You run events as well as myself, as well as day games. And Sal, I know you've been running, you know, your Third Coast Airsoft. You guys are running, you know, one of the number one event producers in the country. So this would be real big. And actually, let me go ahead and, oh, no, he walked away. So we're also bringing Danny McKnight from Black Tiger, who is, he runs day games, runs Milsim days, and then has been running some smaller events. So getting him in on this as well. Let me get him jumped in real quick. So, and what's there he is. Danny McKnight from Black Tiger Airsoft.
How's it going?
Danny, you're a little outnumbered, by the way. You got 3 Army versus 1 Air Force, so don't feel intimidated.
Never. Ooh, how's everyone doing? Yeah, sorry,
you are a little quiet. If you wherever your mic is, sound a little quiet. Or maybe that's just me.
1 second.
Yeah, he sounds a little quiet when he's rocking back and forth, but
yeah, Crisper. There you go. We're getting ready to. We were just talking about heading on up to you. Starting tomorrow, we're all up that way.
Cops and robbers, baby. Let's do it.
Really, really looking forward to this one. Really, this is actually, I gotta say, you've been talking about. We're talking about Thunderdome, Lion Claws, Airsoft Thunderdome happening in Durham, North Carolina at the. Is it the Durham Mall? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. This is actually something my son and I started talking about probably 6 or 7 years ago. Just sitting around talking, be like, man, wouldn't it be cool if you could? And here we are. This was something that I've been wanting to do and didn't even know it was a thing for like 6 or 7 years. Absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be so stupid. So much fun. It really, really is.
Yes. So interesting, right? So when CRISPR called and said, hey, we got and it's the Northgate Mall. Thanks, CRISPR.
Yep.
We got the mall. What do you think? I said, man, it's still Milsim, but hey, dude, cops and robbers. Follow me on this. And he was like, okay. I was like, dude, think of Heat, Den of Thieves, Miami Vice, go. And he was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I said, yeah, all right. So it was a great collaborative effort between me and CRISPR on the design, and CRISPR starts coming out with some great ideas, and we're pitching ideas back and forth. And I was like, dude, this is gonna be great. I gotta go. I gotta see this. I gotta be there for this, because I'm not treating it as a mall. I'm treating it as a city. And one night he was like, hey, what was your inspiration? I was like, well, when you called me, I was playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So I was like, I can make this into an airsoft. I can do this. So it's going to be a blast. I think there's still people out there that are still confused. I think there's guys that are just like Milsim must wear camo, must wear camo. Put down the plate carrier, bro. Pick up the Mac 10. Pick up the flannel. Not that flannel. That's Grantham flannel. Pick up the Crips and Blood flannel. Come on, man. This is y'all's chance to Vatos Locos forever. Let's do this, And
I got to play. We did America. Danny, I think you played it. You played America before. We played America, where we went in. We're wearing black and blue flannels. We were Wolverines. We spray painted up at Wayne's World. I've played. I was just up at Wayne's World for Wasteland. I was the mayor. Had a top hat, full beard, mustache. It's absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes it's about getting in, getting stupid, and really just because none of it's real. It's just not real. I built a HPA Scorpion just for this event. I was so excited for this because it's just this little SMG that I'm just be ripping through the mall with.
Yeah.
And hey, Greg,
go ahead.
Did you ever get a chance to play at Jade Helm whenever we ran it a couple of years ago?
Mayhem Mill, absolutely. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. It was fantastic.
It's still the highlight of one of my top 10 airsoft moments was sneaking an AK, full size AK in a jumpsuit past security. They patted me down and they didn't feel the AK. I got all the way through. But
oh my God.
While I'm walking away, they saw my boot was unlaced and I had an AK mag shoved in it. So they're like, wait a minute. And they walked over and they patted my chest, like, wait a second. And they pulled the full size AK out of my jumpsuit. Like, you're not supposed to have that. That's not good.
Yeah, you're referring to those people as security. That's apparently a lie.
Yeah. Well, the results say that it would be a lie.
Well,
thank you, by the way, CRISPR. Thank you. I just remodeled the whole office. I'm at the home office, and I'm tired of holding my phone, so I got a new camera and actually got a little ring light behind me or in front of me. So I'm tired of looking as amateur as possible. I've been streaming now. Started with Joker 2 years ago. Maybe it's time I actually made it look like I cared about all of this. So
see, Greg's gonna do a full-time Twitch career next. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna play Tarkov. Let's go play. I don't know. I never played Tarkov.
See my OnlyFans.
Oh, I mean,
it's under fetish. It's under fetish. Yeah.
That's a different type of streaming and all.
And so somebody said Battlefield Hardline. I pull up. Yeah, that was another one of the inspirations for this weekend. And I'm always amazed at how some players they ask where we get the ideas from. And it's like, well, I mean, it's got to be like an online game. So, but yeah, man, let's get to the meat. You sent me a message.
This is a real nice, the great segue actually. So, the topic, I told you all about it. The topic really is, the difference between, especially for those that have never done it, the difference between game days, going to a regular game day, or actually going to an event. And by event, we're referring to generalized MILSIM events. We talked about like some of these different ones, but for right now, a little bit of generalized MILSIM event. And Danny, you're actually really good because you've got some of that in between because you have your MILSIM days. And then the second part of that conversation, so keep this in mind while we're talking, is all of us, our responsibility to the community. And one of the big things that spurred this for me was growing the community. So, and before I kick it over to explain that just a little bit, as a field owner and game runner, and like Danny and Virtue, field owner gamer, we have to generate business to keep people coming, but we're trying to grow our local communities and do all that. Sal, I know you don't get to have as much interaction probably as you would like with localized community. You get people in, but how do you, and again, for further in the conversation, how do you grow? How do you feel your responsibility is to help grow the community as well? So starting with like the differences between going to a game day for someone who's never been to a MILSIM versus they're getting ready to go to a MILSIM or going to an event. What do you feel? How do you run the differences? What do you feel the differences are? Anybody?
Well, I
You said
mean,
it started with Sal, so
hey, you said Sal, yeah. I'll give Sal a chance. But so you have a regular Saturday like what I normally run is regular Saturday gameplay. So you have ages from 10 all the way up to like 90-year-olds out there playing, having a
Mhm.
good time. And the games run about 30 to 45 minutes, and that's what they're going out there to expect. It's kind of like paintball. You go out there, you play quick, you come back to the parking lot, you reload BBs and all that stuff. And then you have to have like those kids that like this is awesome. I love airsoft. What's the next step? And one thing that brings people in the airsoft, and I'm a really big supporter of, is content creators. You have YouTubers like Airsoft Alphonse and Novrich and all these different. I mean, Novrich is more making like a brand out of it now. But I'm saying originally, how many people watched Novrich as their first taste of what airsoft is? How many people watch his videos and are like, man, that looks really cool? And then they Google it, hey, airsoft in my area, and then they see Black Tiger pop up or DEO or Stampede or whatever, and like, oh, that's only 30 minutes away. And then they go there, they rent a gun, they try it out, they have a good time, then they buy their first gun. I mean, it's just stepping stones. So Sal, a lot of what Sal does is he's like the higher tier airsoft, what people strive to go to. Like TCA makes like national awesome awesome events, and everyone wants to do that, but you can't go from nothing straight to a TCA event, in my opinion. I mean, you can like,
No,
but
I've seen people try it, and
You've seen people do it.
yeah,
No,
they're not
but
quite ready for it. But
I mean, when you go to your first airsoft game, you have an expectation, and a lot of times you either exceed the expectation or you under it. It's like when you're shooting airsoft guns, people are like, oh, my gun's gonna reach 500 feet. I know I'm hitting that guy and that kind of thing. But when you play a couple weekends at your weekend
Yeah.
event, you understand, oh, this gun's only going to 150 feet. I understand the limitations. Now you have that expectation, so you go to the bigger events and you know what you're dealing with, kind of. But I'm just saying it's just stepping stones.
yeah, no, you're right.
Sal is the top, Black Tiger is entry, and then the way we get people to see airsoft is watch YouTube videos or watch South Park. Like I think that South Park episode was hilarious.
Yeah.
But imagine how many people that brought in because they heard about airsoft. Like, what is airsoft? I've heard about paintball, but I mean, I don't know. Just how many people were introduced to airsoft because of the bra.
Sure.
Virtue. I'd love to hear.
I'm gonna agree and disagree with you there for a few points.
Shocking.
Again, there's a thing. So I see it from both sides of it. You're right. There are stepping stones. It depends on your area, and it depends on your local clientele. The problem, and I do say a problem I have up here in Ohio, is we get a lot of people that start off at high-end Milsim events. They go to the Milsim West again. They go to TCA events. They go to these huge events, and they come to my local indoor field, and they're like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Like I cannot count in 1 month. We actually kept a tally board as a joke. How many guys came in and got upset with me because they had to lower their FPS for an indoor field?
I think indoor. I'm sorry, I've never actually met you before. I think indoor airsoft is a little bit different though, because I equivalent to kind of like hyperball with paintball. Like you go like there's different types of paintball. You have like hyperball, airball, and all that kind of stuff. So when you're playing an indoor field, it's really quick, fast, intense games because it's so close quarter. When you're playing Milsims, you're like hundreds of feet away, and it's just an entirely different type of airsoft, in my opinion.
It is, but it depends on the field layout. Like that's not every field. I have played upwards of 60 to God, I stopped counting how many different indoor fields versus how many outdoor fields events. I mean, in 20 years, I have played across this country in some of the weirdest places on the planet. Yeah, there are those fields that are set up the way. A lot of the events we ran were literally set up to be 30-minute games where you had to think, operate, and move. Yes, it's indoor, but when you have a facility that's big enough to do it, we used to run micro sim events, as we call them, which is basically a smaller version of a milsim setup, where the only time you actually met the other team was when you engaged them in a firefight.
Yeah.
But trying to bridge that gap, again, between, like you were saying, the hyperball, the speedball players, the speedy boys, and the Milsim events, because there's a giant gap between those two events
Mhm.
and trying to ease these. And I say kids because a lot of the guys we have incoming are younger kids that saw those YouTube videos, and that's what they were expecting. I'm like, no. Here's a list of those type of events, but you're not ready for that. And I always felt like the old angry guy yelling at the clouds because I would pull him aside and go, you're not ready to do this yet. Let's get you there. And our sister field here, which is an outdoor field, Call of Fallen Warrior, that also shut down this year, we used to host events where at my indoor field, the outcome would affect what would take place at the indoor field the next weekend. So if your team at the indoor field managed to capture the power plant,
Hey, Top, how's it going?
yeah, when you guys made it to the outdoor field, the next event, because your guys took the power plant, you guys got a bonus for that bigger Milsim-like event. But it was bridging that gap is how I chose to build the community, because I love YouTubers for what they do to our community, but some of them give a misconception to the younger players. A lot of them don't realize, like, Navi Boy's videos are edited. He's not hitting every single shot.
Yeah,
They don't show
hours and hours of gameplay. Right.
Alphonse is an amazing guy. I've got to meet a couple of times, but there is no way he is always in the perfect position to mow down an entire squad. That's an expectation that these younger kids get. Like, prime example, and anybody here that's run an event or run a store knows where I'm going with this. When they say this is my first gun and they want a sniper rifle, that is a horrible idea.
Yep.
They do not realize how much waiting being an airsoft sniper entails, because they watched a YouTube video with a guy running around with a shorty airsoft rifle getting all these kills. So while YouTube gets us these players, it is then on us to kind of re-educate them to the realities of the subject matter. But building up my local community, and it's always been for me, is bridging that gap and creating what I like to call those holy shit moments. Sorry, I don't even know if I can cuss on this channel. I'm so sure.
Feel free.
But it's bridging those gaps and creating those holy shit moments for these players that makes them want to go to those bigger events. Yeah. One of my biggest joys being a field owner or event promoter is when I am as a player at somebody else's big event and a player walks up and goes, dude, you're the reason I showed up. I love that.
That's awesome.
But trying to do that and creating those moments that makes these kids want to go to bigger events. Like, we played videos of our gameplay at the field for players. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the largest thing I've had to deal with in the last couple of years since YouTube blew up. Was I can't even remember the comedy bit, but lowered expectations.
Yeah,
like
Saturday Night Live. Yep.
Yeah, so like, and I do respect a lot of YouTubers that show that. If you ever get a chance, there's the Blind Sniper. There's a couple of guys that actually show all of their screw ups, all of their failure moments.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a spot right there.
I fucking missed a spot. I don't know, man.
You need that Pitbull head shaver. Have you seen that thing yet?
Oh yeah, man.
When I started playing, right, everybody knows this. I didn't like. I thought it was dumb. Didn't want anything to do with it. None of that. A couple of years goes by as I'm playing with Dom. I'm only playing weekend games, and I knew nothing. I didn't watch videos. Dom watched all the videos, did all that kind of stuff. I knew nothing. Sent him with a local guy to his first Milsim, which was Overwatch 3. I couldn't go. I had to go to work, so I still had no idea what a Milsim event was like. Only played weekend pickup games. Went to Overwatch 4. I showed up with a high cap mag. I showed up like I had no idea, and I'm like, I can't. They're like, no, dude, you're gonna get war crime. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me right now. None of this makes any sense. Did you read the player package? I don't know what you're saying to me, right? And this is, you're talking 6 years ago. Yeah. 6 years ago, I think. Go that far back, most regular fields didn't have the organization they have now. A rule set wasn't what it is today. So minimum engagement distances, all this kind of stuff didn't have any of that. So I show up and they're like, all right, you can't do it. You can't go full auto. My gun goes full auto. You can't go full auto. I don't know what you mean. Like that was being thrust into it because there wasn't the education at the field of, okay, we play like this during the day. This is what it's going to be like. And there is none of that in between.
It's like what we talked about earlier, where you have the the brand new players whose first event is going to like Milsom West, and that's just a different type of intensity and altogether.
Or
Yeah.
or is it? And I say that for any event, you go with a certain expectation because you've seen the videos, and you're hoping that it's nonstop action. And Milson West, AMS, TCA, it doesn't matter. You have this expectation, and then they get there and they go, "When is the shooting? When's the shooting going to start?" It's going to start, man. Just patience. No, I think with us, the big piece for us was for Third Coast guys. We started off as players first. Anybody who's in the business, running a field, running a store, you age into event hosting. Welcome to the brotherhood, as I told CRISPR, Papa. Hey, welcome to the. There's a special place in my heart for event producers because you've aged into it.
Yeah.
You've kind of discovery learning, and I'd like to prevent discovery learning because I want to see people succeed because we don't suffer from too many event hosts. We suffer from too few players. That is the conundrum that is airsoft.
That's almost exactly why I wanted to do this stream, by the way. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we had that conversation. We were like, it feels like we've got too many people putting on events, which we've got a lot of events going on.
Well,
we don't have enough people to go depending on where it's at. So,
yeah, CRISPR, too few AOs. I was about to touch on that. AOs are like the hot girl at the all-boys school. Everybody's going to get a turn if we don't communicate.
Yep.
Okay. God forbid both two guys show up at the same time. Nope, ain't happening. AO poaching. I don't like to. Yeah, he just thought about it. You're like, ooh.
No. I was about to say, and then you had that one person that ruins it for everyone else, and then they swap to like paintball or something. So
yeah,
it has happened once.
Yeah. So
it happened whenever I was a kid, growing up in the airsoft community. I was 11 years old, 12 years old, and I was watching all these guys going to Camp Blanding. And I was so excited. I'm like, when I turn 18, I'm going to go to Camp Blanding. I can't wait. I see all these videos and pictures, and I was growing up. And then I think I was 17 is whenever they kicked us off. The paintballers ruined it for us. The paintballers, I guess they used the wrong color paint, and the military who owns the base wasn't happy about it.
Yeah.
And now airsoft has gone there from forever. So you have the one group that can possibly ruin it for everyone. Like, I'm not saying that like we have Clash of the Titans coming up soon. Greg is going to run a great event, and they're happy and all that stuff. But let's say you have a different event host go to the event, and I don't know who owns the field. Is it still Altair?
No, that has been Altair for a very long time. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't keep up with it. But whoever owns it, let's say that like the person that runs the field after Greg puts a bad taste in their mouth of airsofters. They leave it trashy. They destroy something like precious or expensive or whatever. And then suddenly we lose the AO. So you have to make sure that the right people, the right event hosts. I mean, it's not just about running a good event. It's about making sure that the AO is not killed at the end of the event, and that we can keep on going there over and over and over again. Pick up your trash, people.
I think that's don't use the buildings as your personal latrines. But I think that's
the Rockstar policy.
Yeah. So that's a responsibility that an event host has. If you go get an AO, you got to make sure. And I got it. It's herding cats. You're trying to keep everybody from messing up in the parking lot. And hey, dumbass, don't wipe your butt on the side of the building, because you don't want to ruin it for the rest of the community, right? And then guys like me, I'll go to an AMS game. I'll go to a Milsom West game. I like to play too. And thanks for press. So growing the sport for us as an event producer, I've got a home field. I'll go to Texas Paintball. I'll go to Mission Airsoft. So I'll see the players, right? And we'll try to do mini Milsim games. And then there are days or events like we went to reindeer games, had a blast. Trying to get to Clash of the Titans. We went to Overwatch back in the day. Cross promoting is a big deal, and some of us have figured it out because cross promoting has got to happen because you want to be seen by other players. You want to be seen by you want to make those venues available, especially when you go to like Fort Hood when AMS is hosting, and I'm talking with Bo, and he's telling me all the heartache and ass pain he's having with range control, and I'm like, no, I don't think I want to deal with that. Or, hey man, you might want to try this, and this, and try to help each other out. So the responsibility as the event producer is to the AO to keep it available to players. And then at the lowest level, you want to bring in players because that's how we all got started.
Yep.
And I laughed because the first game I ever went to, big game, was 2005, Irene at Zussman at Fort Knox. And fellow captain was like, hey, there's an airsoft game coming up in a couple of weeks. Do you want to go? Okay. So we, got our DCUs out and we went to go, and the guys asked us, are we veterans? Well, yes, we're veterans. We're in the Army. Okay, cool. He was asking if we were Lion Claw veterans. We had no idea. I was kind of like you, Papa, like, yeah. I got a double Eagle M4, and the guy's like, hey, you in the Army? Yeah, here, don't use that. Use this one. He gave me a nice, classic Army M4. And, my battle buddy's like, oh, yeah, we swap out, and phenomenal time. Phenomenal time. And that kind of got us hooked on what big airsoft could be. When somebody asks me, who's the best event producer? I tell them there's 31 flavors of ice cream. Taste them all, man. You may find yourselves liking, one guy's like, man, one year we did nothing but Milsim West that year. Okay. What are you guys doing this year? I think we're going to try this one or that one, or we're going to mix it up. And I'm like, cool. There's 31 flavors. Try them all. You'll find one that tastes good for the moment. And then you'll go back to your home field, and that's where the responsibility of the player is to kind of grow the hobby. I can't stand guys who are elitists when they're at the home field and they're making fun of kids who have like a Walmart gun. I can't even say Walmart gun because Walmart don't sell them anymore. They got the Academy special, and it's like, hey man, that guy's trying to get into the hobby, man. He's got a bunch of surplus gear on. He's trying. Hey, why don't you loan him one of your 16,000 guns you brought today, to show him what what life could be. I did that one time at Fort Stewart, and I lent a kid in my M60, and he put .12s in there, and it was shooting Skittles. The BBs were arcing back like Matrix. I was like, the guns, they could sell, the gun's not firing. I was like, I open it up, I'm like, translucent BBs. These are 0.12 grams. Oh no. The seams alone, the seams alone tore up my hop up on it. I was like, it's all right, man. You didn't know any better. But then what did he buy with his first big paycheck? He bought himself an LMG and was like, I'm ready to be a light machine gunner. I was like, all right, cool.
The responsibility about the cross promotion you're talking about at all levels for sure. I've talked to you about this. I actually talked to, when I went up to Wolverine, I talked to Rich about it. Having some kind of unification, it helps the idea of that. But, Danny and I are local to each other for the most part. We're about 2.5 hours away. My field got completely flooded. Now, I only ran games every other Saturday. So when I had players that wanted to play on off Saturdays, I always sent them up to Black Tiger. Now that we don't have a field right now, I'm building a new one. Everybody comes in the store. Oh, wow, do you have to? When can we play? When can we play? The closest place you got is 2.5 hours away. If you're okay with that drive, head on up there. Danny's going to take care of you. Tell him Papa sent you. By all means, be sharing in the community like that. Sharing in the community like that is so important from the lowest level up to the highest level. When you move in, like what I'm trying to do, I'm doing now national events as opposed to just North versus South. So you're doing everything. Sam's helped me out. I get people from all over the place trying to help lift me up, bring me through so that I can bring these events out there. We can get more people out there. Yeah. It's trying to keep people down, it doesn't work. It doesn't help grow the sport at all. That's definitely one of the responsibilities. So I know you said you had to go. So if you got any closings, anything you want to say?
Virtue, I think you nailed the head on. Hit the nail on the head with expectation management. And the younger cats are you want to get them in the hobby, but this is the generation we have to provide the why. Why can't I use a high cap? Why can't I shoot 500 FPS? I always said, hey man, noobs talk FPS. Guys who've been around talk joules. Guys, having played airsoft in Japan and everyone's shooting 1 joule, 300 FPS, it's amazing how far they can reach with their guns. That magic Tokyo Marui dust they're ranging out. It's crazy, but they can talk to you about compression and hop ups and just nubs and barrels, and you're like, yeah, dude, Americans, we don't have patience for that. We want to open the box, pull the gun out,
Put the heaviest spring you could possibly fit in there and send it.
Yeah, and they don't understand. Safety. This isn't well, if you can't take the hit, don't play airsoft. Well, when you get your earlobe shot off, or your fingertip shot off, or your testicle ruptured, or your nipple dies because of soft tissue damage for the females, yeah, man, these are all real things that happened in a hobby.
Yep.
And these, by the way, none of these were speed soft. This was like regular like skirmish games, or you go to an event host that you're like, hey, I want to help this guy out, and you go, hey, did you guys chrono? And he goes, chrono. Well, yeah. If you put a BB in a beer can, you're shooting hot. I went, oh dear God. And so there is a responsibility to explain the why, provide the why, and then it's going to take a minute, so you have to have patience. Teeth getting shot out. Yep. That's a thing. Hell, I was an admin and I had a tooth shot out. Two of my other admins had their teeth shot out as admins. So yeah, man. And you tell people, well, I don't care. I'm not going to wear lower face protection. Hey, dude, you do you.
Education is the most important thing. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, you guys have all heard me talk. Education is the most important thing in this. Kids come in, if they're over 18, I'm like, listen, mandatory, ANSI rated, full sealed, that's mandatory.
Yeah.
Recommended, lower face protection, and gloves. Gloves less, but listen, trust me, it only takes 1 BB for you to change your mind about wearing gloves. Right?
Yeah, or even playing, or even continue to play airsoft.
Yes. Yeah. I had nerve damage in a knuckle for like 7 months. It hurt like the BB was in there, and it wasn't from a single BB. So
we've all seen that one on TikTok where he's like popping it out of his nose.
Oh,
and they're
God,
like,
don't remind me of that one.
Yeah, and it's like people are like,
I cut one out of one of my team guys. I cut it out of his knuckle. Up at BTA, he got hit. It hit just right, went up and under the tissue. I had to cut it out just so he can move on. Fallon had one in his chin. Yep.
But you go back to that's an ambassador of the sport, good or bad. People are like, I'm never playing airsoft. Like, or I played BB gun wars when I was a kid. We shot each other with copperhead BBs. You're like, yeah, dude. Ignorance was bliss back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, you didn't wear eye protection either. You're just like, send
right.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. That was the generation that killed lawn darts too.
Yes.
You also had the pump guns that says, "Oh, you pump it twice," and you're like 10 times, and then like.
Yeah, you get one pump. Bullshit.
Yeah. Right.
But no. Yeah, man.
No, you're head on. Like, so again, you're right. But like, my favorite, I don't want to say trick or tactic, when they want to argue about something is, here's the deal. I want you to stand over there. I'm going to shoot you with your gun. If you flinch, you can't play with it. And the amount of machismo, yeah, I could take it. And then they get over there and you hit them and they're like, yeah.
Yep.
Like, and now do you understand my problem?
And I get it, man. I get it. Some people want to learn through pain. I don't like pain. It hurts me. Great quote by Daffy Duck. But I mean, responsibility to treat players right and explain the why. And even if they're ignorant, they don't want to listen. You told them they'll listen eventually. Responsibility to keep the AO. Because at some point, I hope Muscatatuck stays available. I hope places like Guardian stay available. I hope places like GTI stay available. Down at Force Center or whatever they're calling it, I hope that stays available. Because shit, there's a fine line between hit no shit. Man, that guy. But
Make-
we have
make
a
that
responsibility. We have a responsibility to keep the sport viable.
Mhm. Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and that's a big piece, man. Um,
If,
guys
if
who who are out to hurt people or out to make a name for themselves out of this thing, they're flashes in the pan. They'll get notoriety. They'll hurt somebody really bad, and then they'll be really infamous. Uh, and I think as event hosts, event producers, from the field owner to the big field ops, we owe it to the players as much as possible. And if they don't respect it or they don't realize it at the moment, give them time, they will. And I got to go handle a real work issue. So, Papa, I will see you in
tomorrow, right? Well,
tomorrow.
tomorrow, Friday, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll definitely take a picture together. I'll put the handcuffs on. He's like, yeah, you got me, bro. So, but hey, man, like I said, man, Clash of the Titans, working hard to try to get there. Gonna be epic. The AO is phenomenal.
Really looking forward to some of the stuff that's been done now that wasn't done back then. Some of the things some of the changes they made are like, trust me, you want to be there more than you did when we first talked about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, I will see you in 24 hours.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah,
give or take. And then, hey, Black Tiger, and it's great to see your smiley face. Support your local fields. Get out there. Virtue, always great to see how high your Mohawk's gotten. If that is a Colt revolving rifle behind you, you are an epic man. So
yes, it is. Sir. It's an 8-shot.
You are a connoisseur, bro. All right. So we got to do a Wild West game just for you. Okay. So
Hey, we talked about it.
Thank you very much, but I appreciate you coming on.
I'll see you
tomorrow. There he goes. He was talking about we've been talking about raising them right. Not being stagnant is really another one, and I don't think any of us here are guilty of that. Constantly trying to do something new, grow a little bit bigger, change things up some, all of that. At the field level, that's important because that brings them in. And Danny, I know something that you do is you have your Milsim days. So you get the new players in and they play for a little bit, and then eventually they find, okay, Milsim Day, what is that about? And then they go and they see it's a different type of gameplay than your traditional get out, blast away, and then off you go. And that's that good blend. So you've got that next segmented step, getting them into what was that?
I don't know.
That was me. Sorry. I have
over the cat.
My dog's attacking my feet right now. I'm trying to stay calm, but
I got y'all excited. I know. But it was that's it's things like that, and even something stupid as what we're doing right now, just coming together, talking about figuring out ways, and then getting community input on how to bring them what they want. How to deliver something positive. Real quick, stepping back to the YouTube comments before. I get kids all the time. They come walking in the store, and they're like, so I was watching the video and I'm like, stop. Was it? And I name off like the top 4 at the moment, whoever it is. Oh yeah. I said, okay, here's what that's about. Like you mentioned Navarre before. Yeah. That's 3 days worth of video that made a 4-minute YouTube video. So that's not what you're trying to get. That's not how it works. It's not what it is. Now, it gets them excited, it gets them in the sport, but it is definitely our responsibility to set the expectation for this is where you are, this is where he is, and this is what it took to get there. So,
you're absolutely right about evolving. Like we just had dealing with OBH, we just had an issue where I had to amend my rule set, because of listening to player input. Traditionally, for most promoters, when you tell somebody that if you're going to play a weapons class that has an MED, you need a secondary. In most of our heads, shotgun, pistol pops into mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had LMG gunners, snipers, all these guys that had MEDs going, well, what can I take an M4 that falls into the rifleman class? It doesn't have an MED. I'm like, you really want to carry an LMG and an M4? I mean, other than
I believe in that. I'm with you. I believe in doing that if they want to carry that much.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's not against the rules. However, it's idiotic. So I literally had to amend the rules. It says yes, anything that doesn't have an MED can be used as a secondary now. And I have guys on our Discord, on Reddit, all chiming in with their new loadouts that are going to kill them at the next event. One guy's got 3 drum mags, a rack of M4 mags, and I'm like, why would you want to carry all that all day?
You know, my just a real quick slide sideways topic. When I played down at Starburst down in Texas for TCA, my primary was my DMR, and I had backpack straps for it because to play with the DMR you have to be at a distance anyway. Well, while I'm walking with that strapped on my back, I'm not going to be unarmed. So I had an SMG. That was my secondary, you know, and all I had to do was sling, unsling, and I'm right there. It carried very well. It wasn't that bad. 9mm mags are small, and a DMR should not be shooting that much. So my mag balance was good too. And you don't see a lot of like what you did. You don't see a lot of it being allowed. Although if you can do it and it doesn't really break the spirit of the rules, then make it allowed. I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah, no, I told them all during the announcement, my top 3 rules, they all know. Safety, fun, and then my golden rule, don't be a dick.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't violate those 3 rules, I'll look at them. It doesn't mean I'm going to allow it, but I'll look at it. And I did not expect the sheer amount of people going, we want to do this. And I'm like, are you really?
I mean, right.
Sorry.
In lieu of that, I was because you're talking about you had to recently amend your rules for a gray area that someone tried to like sneak in. So what I've been dealing with, and I had a huge debate about it with all my staff members. We were talking about it was riot shields. We allow them at our field. I don't like them. I personally don't like them, but players like them, so I allow them. But I made the rule you have to use a semi-automatic pistol only. So you have a riot shield, a pistol. Well, what people are doing is they put the pistol on top of the shield and they're firing because they're looking through the plexiglass. But then that also breaks our blind fire rule because technically they're looking down the sights. So what I say is for a riot shield, you have to still look down the sights. So you have to expose a part of your body to shoot the weapon, giving that extra player or other enemy player a chance to tag you out too. It's a hot debate right now at our field. Is the riot shields? I'm not a fan.
Yeah, we had to deal with the same thing. We made the same ruling. So at OBH events in the prison, there are no riot shields because the facility is it's a prison. It's designed so that a riot shield can lock down an area. So there's no riot shields in the prison. But at the indoor field, I made the ruling that you have to be looking down your sights or it counts as blind firing. So then people started cutting notches into their shield so that they can look. And I'm like, okay, fine. If there's a notch in your shield, it no longer protects you from a grenade. And they were like, well, I was like, there's a hole clearly right there for shrapnel to get through. And then they started making larger shields. And
A flap.
got ridiculous. It got ridiculous. And eventually we were like, just no more riot shields. You guys are going to keep abusing this until somebody does something unsafe.
I'm almost at that point, but I have like a designated like 3 players that love playing with their riot shields, and I'm like I'm all for it. Let them play with their riot shields.
And that's
sorry.
Yeah.
We have one kid, and I will let him use a riot shield because he uses a riot shield and a knife, and that is all.
And he earns those kills, but with a rubber knife.
Dude, I watched that kid work. It was brilliant.
That's and that is actually so. My opinion is, I was where teachers were mentors. You know, running a local field. That's that again. There's a difference between running an event. The local field, you're teaching, you're mentoring, you're showing, you're growing, you're doing all those kind of things, and you know you're helping to show them why these things are not popular, even though it sounds like it's a great idea. You know, you hear it. Obviously, you guys just mentioned you hear it all the time. Can I use a riot shield? Well, I don't unless the game the individual game calls for it on the field, I don't allow riot shields. They're too impossible to get around, blah blah blah, and there's always room for someone to extend its capabilities. So we don't normally allow them, but discussions can be had, and we explain why we don't allow them. You know, I tried to do. I'm still working on a design for a depleting shield. If that works, if I can finally get the depleting shield working, riot shields all day long, because I've never seen a riot shield that could stop a 50 cal round. You know, like you're going to be taken out. It's, you know, if you shoot 7.62 enough at a riot shield that's going through, you're going to die. You can't just drill someone and then be okay. So there has to be a semblance of that. Now, if you're talking about LARPing events and things like that, or if it's just a very casual day of just spraying a bunch of 2.5, then who cares? You know, throw it all up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really depends on the kind of day, but the education behind it, so that they understand the what's and the whys, I think that's our responsibility for as field owners.
Yeah, and I have to explain to people all the time. It's not because, like, riot shields are for example. It's not because I don't like riot shields. I own 2 somewhere over there. It's that they all have their use. They have there's a time for them. In most events, they're useless. You're just lugging the thing around.
Guys all being quiet in the chat. I don't understand.
I don't know.
Say
Because
something.
Sal left, we don't have any more swag.
Right? Oh yeah, we lost our celebrity status after Sal.
But it's a slow evolution, like across the board. But absolutely, over the last couple of years, it just I got out of the Army and I thought I was done answering stupid questions.
Oh.
Apparently, that never ends.
No, you're still alive. You're going to answer stupid
Never.
questions for the rest of your life.
And I still operate off the same philosophy I did back then: is you cannot fix stupid. You can only redirect it at a new target.
So, CRISPR, let me. You know, you're an event producer. Like you run events. If you want to jump in, by all means, I'll send it to you. Send me a message. I'll send you a link. We got 13 minutes left. Happy to have you if you want to. If not, otherwise. But you know, like I said, at the game level, our responsibility is to grow. We have a responsibility to the individual players as a whole. From an event producer, it's not our job to care about the individual. I think at the event producer level, it's the job to care about the mass, to take this entire thing that is airsoft and keep it growing. And we do, you know, so it happens at multiple levels. And again, if either I'm not making sense or you disagree, by all means say so. But I think that's, again, where the split in responsibility comes from.
You watched our stream last night. That is at the core of my major issue with what went down. As a community, we need to help keep things going, keep things. But
Damn, you should have told me something right there, by the way. Right there. There you go.
But with everything that went down, I'm not going to go into all that on this stream because I had my soapbox yesterday. But as a community, especially in the internet age, there are things that will happen at Papa's Field that will affect things that happen up here. There are things that may happen at a BTA event that will affect things that happen over at Papa's area. Well, you got even more so for you guys.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But as a community, especially as promoters, producers, field owners, we talk and we need to talk. We need more communication to help build this community as a whole. And you're absolutely right when it comes down to the guys that are looking at the top-down picture. It's juicy as it sounds. It's not always about the individual player. It's about your local community and it's about the national community. We have events that hit the news all the time that affect the national community on a negative way on a massive scale. We need more positive cases of that happening.
Right.
And that's one of the problems with losing AOs and losing all these other things is people talk more about you when you're having a bad day. But I've heard nothing but good things about BTA events. Even if I can't make it, my players ask me about them. I'm like, hey, I've heard nothing but good things. Go check it out. Tell me how it was. I've sent North versus South. I sent an entire 12-man team to go harass Papa. I couldn't make it, but they came back and they talked nothing but great things about his event. And all my other players heard about these things, and now they want to go. Coming up with Clash of the Titans, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not until I got I'm
I love
coming.
the fact that both of you are coming, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
But that came up on our stream, and players from all the fields I play at chimed in, going, "You're going to be there?" I'm like, "Yeah." Are you going to be there? It's like, "No, we were thinking about it." And I'm like, "Well, see if you can get a ticket. Get your ass down there." But these are the positive things that happen more or less in the background.
See, I don't have that problem on our field. I treat everybody as poorly as the next guy. I don't treat anybody any better than anybody else on our field. In fact, I've actually I introduced it's a soft. We started talking about actually doing it for real, like giving titles and stuff. If you've been playing long enough in my field, I make you help. I make you take someone under your wing, and you need to go out and be their mentor on the field. And that came about as a result of the volunteerism that was occurring anyway. So I said, okay, I need 3 volunteers that are veteran players. Got it. You guys go with them. They're going to show you how it goes. My staff can do it, sure, but the players are better adept at doing it because they're the ones out playing the game. If the staff goes out with them, they're going to be able to show them the rules and the guidelines, but not how to play the game. So, again, growing the community in a proper way, watering it, feeding it, doing all that, growing it in a proper way versus just, all right, you paid your $30, get on the field, go spend as much BBs as you want. If you need more, we sell them back here. That doesn't work. There's no growth there. And we need that. We need the growth. We need it to keep it alive. It's a living, breathing thing that we have to maintain.
Absolutely. And out of the many things I've stolen from Papa, as long as I've known him, this is kind of one of them. And I call it Battle Buddies because he told me about this and I thought it was brilliant. And it got to the point at our field where a new kid would show up and I said, do me a favor, go out there and tell me you need a battle buddy. And he would do it. And like 3 guys that have been there forever would put their hands up. I got you. And they would take these kids out because if you don't, everybody complains about the douchey players we have at big events. You guys know the ones I'm talking about. Everybody's got them at their field. To prevent that, we have to show them now that is not the way to behave. Absolutely. Now, as an authority figure, as a field owner, staff, they're not going to listen to you. They're not. But when another player is teaching them the proper way of doing things, it's a completely different effect. But to talk about what Christopher was saying, I completely agree with you. I don't believe in that philosophy at all. You can ask anybody that's ever played at one of my events or in my fields. I refer them all as my bastard children, and I hate them all equally. You don't know that, Christopher. You don't know that.
Oh, you beat me to it. I was going to put it up on the screen and say it.
You're not my real dad.
So, Danny, I know that I don't know if you implement it, but I know it happens on your field. Obviously, I played that enough.
It's been happening because like we have like Alex and the Echo 4 guys. We have such a huge they're a big group and they're out there every single weekend and they automatically just grab people and like, all right, you guys are with us. And sometimes these kids are not ready for what they do because they'll shove them in a tank and then drive them up to a building and then like, all right, we're clearing this building, let's go. And the kid's like, what? Like sometimes it's a little bit much, but we definitely take younger people, brand new players under our wing whenever they go in. And they, whenever we allowed pyro and all that, Alex was notorious for handing brand new rental kids some crazy pyro and like, all right, here, go blow that building up. And they have eyes wide, run over and just throw a grenade in. And I mean, if I'm sure if one of those kids goes through an experience like that, you have an airsoft player for life right there. A brand new 11, 12-year-old come in there for a birthday party, they rent a gun and they get shoved into a tank and then they go clear a building. They're gonna go home and tell their mom and dad like, dude, I was doing some cool stuff. I went in and this guy told me to blow this grenade up and I did and we killed a bunch of people.
Those are the holy shit moments I was talking about.
Yeah,
I got to personally experience all of that through my son, watching Dom come home. Danny, you know this, that since Dom heard about Echo 4, his like second year playing or whatever it was. I don't remember. He always dreamed of being part of Echo 4. I was there when he got patched. It was an amazing moment for him. Going back again, what Christopher said about VIPs and all that. Echo 4, Fallon, especially you get with the ferret, with all that, they very well could be considered VIP. But to the contrary, they are the most approachable. They do everything they can to uplift the kids as opposed to standing on top of them. On your field, it's kids getting to go and play side by side with these guys that are veteran players. Obviously, have spent the right amount of money the right way on ridiculous toys, and them seeing that and saying they don't have to be, douchey. They don't have to be, off-putting. They don't have to be standoffish. They don't have to be. They can actually be good people instead. That is truly what we're talking about here. The responsibility towards the growth and to get the kids in. It's supposed to be like, I don't have time for you, kid.
And I got into it at Score Surf with other players. Been playing for a while. I've seen the guy at a bunch of events. There's a younger kid taking shots at him. There's firefights going on. Kid's not calling his hits, apparently. He just starts yelling down the hallway. And I stopped him, and I yelled at him. He says, what? He's not calling his hits. I saw that. I just ignored it. He's like, he's not calling his hits. And I went, or you could go down there like an adult and explain to that kid what the problem is. Instead, you're being the negative influence and yelling down a hallway at him. He has no clue what's going on. He can't see down here. Stop being an asshole.
Yeah.
And to his respect, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. You see it blank on his face, and he kind of looks at me and goes, huh, I am being the asshole. Now, you are being the asshole.
Yep. Sometimes it's hard to choose the moment, but again, now you're talking about the responsibility of veteran players at that point. If you're playing alongside a new player and he's doing something wrong, don't scream and yell at him. Be like, hey, on this field the rules are just watch yourself, or hey, it's easier if, or I have found that, or just these little things that you implant them early on, like you said. And Danny, I know you get to see this. You get probably twice the amount of player base that I get, so you get to see it twice as much. Plus, you're open twice as much. You see these little kids, and if they come in and they get with the right person at the right time, and it clicks, that's the direction they grow. If you tell them that calling someone else's hit isn't acceptable, and call all of your hits, even if you think maybe you were hit, if you start right away doing that, 2 years later, they're going to be. 2 years later, they're going to be that guy who is exactly that way, teaching someone else.
Yeah, I get yelled at by my own teammates for calling hits that apparently clearly didn't hit me. But when in doubt, call it out. Like, I've literally got hit and that was nowhere near you, and went, oh well, and I walk away. Because I don't want the kids that are playing with me to think that it's okay. If there's a doubt, I'm gonna come back and shoot the guy. It's airsoft.
Yep.
And that's why one of my favorite forms of airsoft. Like I love going to events and big AOs and having a good time. That's always a fun time. But my favorite genre of airsoft is the backyard style play that we run on Black Tiger days. Like you have a 30 to 45 minute game, unlimited respawns. The respawns are really, really close to the action. So it's literally 30 minutes of what people want to do. They want to run in there and Call of Duty and like intense action. They get shot. The games are designed when you get shot, you take 1 minute, go back, respawn. You're back in the game instantly. So there's no reason not to call your hit. So that's the kind of airsoft that's like the purest form. You're always going to have the problem people that, I know I hit that guy, or he's not calling his hits or whatever. But in my opinion, if you ever run into that situation, the best thing to do is just go somewhere else and keep on playing. Because if you go to like an event like what Greg's going to run in February, if you go to that event and you look for problems, you look for the people that are not calling their hits and all that you're going to find them, and then you're going to tell everyone that you had a really bad time at this event because no one was calling their hits, the staff wasn't helping, if you look for that kind of problem, that's what you're going to find. But if you go there and you're like, I'm here to have a good time, you're going to have a good time, and hold on to the good moments, because in 5 years from now, if you're playing airsoft still, you're gonna look back and like, I remember Clash of Titans. I had that one intense moment, and because like I remember like my first big event was whenever it was at Sovereign Fury in 2013. That was my first big event. That was ran by I can't remember what their name is, but it was at the place in Perry, Georgia.
GTI
GTI. No, not GTI. It
or
was
Guardian Center.
Guardian Centers. That
Yeah.
was actually that was the first time that Airsoft came there, and I remember going there, and it was so long ago. I don't remember most of the event. I do remember the highlight of my whole entire day was a joke that my friend Wes said, and I remember it to this day. And we were on top of the building, and we were shooting people. And I said, Wes, why aren't you shooting the guys up close? He's like, no, I'm giving them hope. And then he would shoot them. And I, to this day, I don't remember the whole entire event. I don't remember the not calling hits and all that. I'm sure that was there. I remember that one joke because it was so funny and it made me feel so good. And I look back, and that's the one moment I remember. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you go to a big event, look for one moment to remember and make it a good one, because you'll remember it for the rest of your life.
When I play game days at other field, like when I go to Black Tiger, and see, you never really have a chance to come out while I'm playing, but I don't know if you hear it or not. When I start playing, especially if we're doing those kind of games where it's like 1,000 respawns, unlimited lives, I get out and I just start running. Like I'll run into a hail of BB and literally run and turn around and run back. I just hit, doesn't matter. Go back, come back and forth, because I'm trying to show that none of that matters. Just go play. Just shut up, go play. Don't worry about getting hit, because you're going to get hit. Call your hit, because it only makes the game better. And keep moving. Don't hide. You're not getting anything out of the game if you're just sitting there hiding. Go out, try it. Try it. And I like to think if I can do that and I can show that as the example, especially being older.
And when Greg runs, he has to run twice the distance everyone else.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
I was waiting for it.
I'm just kidding. But you met Tommy before. Tommy is one of my employees. He's in charge of the rentals. And he does a briefing for all the people renting guns, and he always tells them the same thing. I really love the way he says, he's like, hey, play Airsoft the way you're going to play Call of Duty. You're not going to sit back and camp in Call of Duty. You're going to run around and be intense. He's like, you'll have a much better time than if you sit back and you get 1 or 2 kills. If you get into action, if you kill 15 people and you die 16 times, it's still 15 kills. You're going to have a great time.
To that point, and Top just said something. He said, and all the great communication we have, made me think about something real quick, and I know we're over time, but I used to listen to Dom and all his friends when they would come over the house getting ready to go to an event. Excuse me, and they're getting ready to go play a game day, and they're like, man, I'm gonna call in airstrikes, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm a low crawl, and then you go, and when they were younger, they go, and they would do none of that. They would hide, or they would just run, but they wouldn't communicate. They wouldn't get their tactics down. They wouldn't do this kind of thing. If you got it in your head, that's the place to do it, because it's not going to do you any harm. You just go and pretend to do the thing that you were pretending to do in your mind. It's not real. So
Go out.
go do it. See what it's about. See what it feels like.
Absolutely.
And Toucan hates it because I get bored real easy when we go to events. If we're sitting for too long, I'm like, I'm going to go draw fire. He's like, no, I'm supposed to protect you. I'm like, no, it's okay. He's like, stop, and they have to drag me back because I want the mix. I want to get in there and I want to play. And he hates that. But for me, it's about the experience. It's about the joy. It's about the fun and showing other people that it's okay. It's okay to die. It's okay to run. It's okay to run out and say, and medic 13 people. If you've got the speed, the ability, the agility to do it, go. Don't hesitate. Go get them.
When those moments work out favorably, they're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
because there's plenty of moments I wish I had a camera or somebody was recording me. Bad Blood this past year, 2 amazing incidents happened where we were getting gunned down by this LMG gunner up the ridge, and I kept pushing him, go, 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 go. They're like, oh, he's got us pinned down. This kid behind me said, I got range on? He goes, I don't know. I grab his gun, put it up, take one shot. You hear the machine gunner go, hit! And I hand him his gun back. Everybody's staring at me. I'm like, keep going. But it's like, let's rush. But I don't know if you're familiar with the AO up at EMR. They have this fake wooden train playset in the woods that people love to hide out in.
Oh,
And they were holding our entire team from this train. And I was like, rush the train. They're like, well, they got all the angles. We have bodies. Rush the train.
right. They can only
And they were
shoot so many of you. Somebody's
They were
getting
finagling. So with my pistol and a coffee mug, I stormed the side of the train and clear a car. Because nobody was paying attention to me.
A coffee mug. That sounds like how the Air Force does PT. Ah,
Yeah,
there
exactly.
you go, I did it for you.
Dave White said it's fun to be shot by younger players. Oh, when you get shot by a younger player, especially young ones, I think you should make a spectacle out of it. You find them afterwards, do a great shot. When they feel proud of what they did, when they feel like they did a good job, absolutely, that's just another thing. I say this all the time. Most of these kids that are playing, most of the young kids that are playing this have never played another sport. I grew up playing sports. Sports teaches you things like integrity, character, sportsmanship, teamwork, all of that. If they've never played that, then they don't know what it's about. They don't know that feeling. But I tell you what, the first time you were part of a team, the first time you felt the pride of doing good for your team, that's an irreplaceable feeling. So if you guide them along that path and you show them that that's what it's about, and if we create this hobby/sport to be exactly that football, baseball, basketball, all those don't have to be the only ones that can teach that kind of companionship, that kind of sportsmanship, that this can do that also, that's how we continue to grow.
Yeah.
Completely
Sorry, I know we're
agree.
over time.
Sorry,
I get excited when
yeah.
talking about this.
We do. I got to run. You got to run. We all got to run. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you guys in a month. Oh my God, not a month, 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
Holy cow. Yeah, Clash of Titans, thank you guys for supporting it. I really appreciate you coming on down. And thank you everybody for being on. This is fantastic. It was great talk. And I'll talk to y'all in 2 weeks.
See you there.
I'll see it.